Have you ever noticed how some companies just seem to blow up in markets that are like super competitive? It's wild. You'd think it'd be impossible to stand out, but they somehow totally change the game.
It's a really good point, and it begs the question, what's their secret? How do they not only survive, but actually thrive and reshape entire industries?
That's precisely what we're diving into today. We're not just talking about keeping your head above water. We're talking about understanding the minds and strategies of those innovators who have completely redefined the playing field.
Yeah, like what makes them tick? What sets them apart? That's what we're trying to uncover.
Exactly. And to guide our deep dive, we've been poring over this super insightful piece called Breaking Barriers: How Innovators Thrive in Cutthroat Markets. It's packed with real-world stories and analysis.
It's a fascinating read.
It is. So when we think about these competitive landscapes, what kind of picture pops into your head?
Well, first off, you know it's not going to be easy. These are dynamic, constantly shifting environments, often dominated by these massive, well-established players. Think about tech, the automotive world, even something like space travel. There are some major players with huge resources.
Totally. It's like trying to break into a fortress almost, and yet some people have managed to not just break in, but like completely re-engineer the fortress.
Absolutely. And when you think about those who've really made a dent in these tough markets, names like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs immediately come to mind.
Oh yeah, those are some heavy hitters.
Yeah. So, for example, Musk with Tesla pushing the boundaries of electric vehicles and SpaceX totally revolutionizing space travel, he embodies this spirit of challenging the status quo.
Oh, absolutely. And with Jobs, it's Apple, right? I mean, they were struggling, and he came in and steered them to become this global tech powerhouse.
And his focus on design, that user-friendly experience, it became Apple's hallmark.
Totally. And remember, the launch of the iPhone back in 2007, it wasn't just a new phone. It was a totally different way of interacting with mobile technology.
It was a turning point, for sure. A complete reimagining of what a mobile phone could be, just like SpaceX.
Yeah.
They weren't just tinkering with existing rocket technology. They were creating a whole new way of thinking about space exploration.
Super innovative. So we've got these big names, these trailblazers, right? What were some of the key things they did, the strategies that led to this, groundbreaking success? One thing that jumped out from breaking barriers was the importance of data analytics.
Yeah, data is crucial. But it's not just about collecting data, it's about understanding it, using it strategically. The real magic happens when innovators can dig deep into the data to really see what's happening and why.
So it's about going beyond the surface level, right? It's about finding those hidden insights that others might miss.
Exactly.
Right.
The innovators who are really successful can analyze customer behavior, their purchase history, their online activity, even what people are saying about their products on social media. They use all of that to anticipate where the market is heading and what customers really want but aren't getting.
Okay, so it's about using data to get ahead of the curve, to predict the future almost. And when I think about that, Amazon immediately pops into my head. They seem to have mastered this.
Oh, absolutely. Amazon, with Jeff Bezos at the helm, they're like the poster child for data-driven success. They started as this online bookstore, and now they're this gigantic e-commerce force.
And they seem to know exactly what I want before I even know it. They're recommending products, optimizing their entire delivery system, and anticipating demand like it's magic.
And it's not magic, it's data. Their entire business model is built on understanding the huge amount of data they collect. But data is only part of the equation, right?
Yeah.
The source we're looking at also emphasizes the importance of building a certain kind of culture within a company.
Oh, yes. The culture piece is huge. It's about creating an environment that fosters creativity and risk-taking, right?
But how do you actually do that? How do you cultivate a space where people feel safe to try new things and not be terrified of failing? That's the million-dollar question.
It is. And the source highlighted Google and Netflix as companies that seem to have cracked the code. What's their secret sauce?
Well, both companies are known for giving their employees a good amount of freedom to explore their ideas. Like, remember Google's famous 20% time? They encouraged employees to dedicate a chunk of their week to projects they were passionate about. It might not be a formal policy anymore, but it really demonstrated their commitment to fostering innovation.
And that freedom, that sense of ownership over your work is so powerful.
It is. And then there's Netflix with their whole freedom and responsibility philosophy. They're all about encouraging smart risks. It's not reckless, it's calculated. As long as you're thinking it through and it aligns with the company's goals, they're willing to let you run with it.
So it's about trusting your people, giving them space to experiment and grow. And that seems key to staying ahead in these markets where everything's constantly changing.
It's critical. You can't stand still. You have to keep moving.
Absolutely. So, for our listeners out there, if you're thinking, okay, I want to be more innovative, what are some concrete takeaways, some practical advice they can use? Breaking Barriers actually had 5 really actionable tips.
Oh, yeah, these are great. The first one is so simple, yet so important. Embrace failure. And I know we hear this a lot, but it's more than just a saying. It's about actively shifting your mindset. See failure as an opportunity to learn and improve, not as a sign of defeat.
Right. It's about taking those failures and squeezing every bit of learning you can out of them.
Exactly. Analyze what went wrong and what you can do differently next time, and then use that to iterate, to refine your approach until you get it right. If you're not failing at least sometimes, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough.
Makes total sense. What's the second tip?
Stay laser focused on your customer. Always keep their needs front and center. Don't just invent for the sake of inventing. Solve a real problem for real people.
So, before you even start innovating, you've got to ask yourself, what problem am I trying to solve for my customer?
Precisely. It's about understanding their pain points, their unmet needs. You can have the most advanced technology in the world, but if it doesn't solve a real problem for someone, it's meaningless.
I love that. Innovation with a purpose. Okay, what's the third piece of advice?
Foster a culture of collaboration. The source really highlighted the power of teamwork, of breaking down those departmental silos and getting people with different perspectives and skills working together.
Yeah, it's like that cross-pollination of ideas, right?
Exactly. When you have people from different backgrounds coming together, you're way more likely to generate truly innovative solutions than if everyone's stuck in their own little corner.
It's like having more pieces of the puzzle so you can see the bigger picture more clearly. What's the fourth tip?
Be ready to adapt quickly. The market changes all the time, so your innovations can't be set in stone.
So you got to be flexible, right? Be willing to adjust your course when needed.
It's all about agility. Can you pivot your strategy, your product, even your whole business model when conditions change? That's essential if you want to survive, let alone thrive.
That's so important in today's fast-paced world. Being able to react quickly can be a huge advantage. And what's the fifth and final piece of actionable advice?
Invest in the right technology. This isn't just about having the newest gadgets, it's about being strategic. How can you leverage technology to make your operations more efficient, to enhance what you offer, and to ultimately create more value for your customers?
So it's about using technology as a tool to empower your innovation, not just as a shiny object.
Precisely. Now, beyond those 5 practical tips, Breaking Barriers also offered some more, let's say, outside-the-box strategies to stimulate innovative thinking.
Ooh, I love those. Tell me more. What were they?
Okay, so the first one is to build diverse teams. And I'm not just talking about diversity in terms of departments or job titles. I'm talking about bringing together people with different life experiences, different backgrounds, different ways of approaching the world.
So it's about cognitive diversity.
Exactly. Because
Okay.
when you have people with different perspectives and lived experiences working together, they'll approach problems in different ways, challenge each other's assumptions, and ultimately come up with more creative solutions.
It's like having different lenses through which to view the same problem. You get a much richer understanding of the possibilities. What's the second outside the box suggestion?
This one's interesting. Think globally. Even if your company is small or focused on a local market, consider the global implications of what you're doing right from the start.
So don't limit yourself to thinking small, right? Even if you're starting small, think big.
Exactly. Thinking globally can open up so many new possibilities, influence how you design your products or services, and help you see future trends that you might miss otherwise. It broadens your horizons.
I love those suggestions. Now, the source also shared some really inspiring examples of innovation in action. That story about James Dyson and his journey to create the bagless vacuum cleaner was amazing.
Oh, it's a classic tale of perseverance. Can you imagine being rejected over 5,000 times? That's
Yes,
incredible.
5,000 times. That's insane.
It is. But he believed in his idea, he kept refining it, and eventually he revolutionized the vacuum cleaner market. His story shows how crucial resilience is to the innovation process.
You got to have that unwavering belief in your vision, even when everyone else is telling you it won't work.
Absolutely. And speaking of resilience and learning from failure, we can't forget about Amazon's famous failing fast philosophy.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept. Tell me more about that.
So, it's more than just a slogan for them. They actively encourage their teams to test new ideas quickly, even on a small scale, and see what works and what doesn't. And if it fails, No problem. They learn from it and move on.
They're not afraid to make mistakes because they know that's how they'll learn and ultimately get to the best solutions.
Exactly. They see failure as a necessary part of the innovation process, not something to be feared. And that's a huge part of why they've been so successful.
So, wrapping up this fascinating deep dive, what would you say is the most important takeaway?
It's this. If you want to make a real impact in a competitive market, you can't just have a good idea. You need more than
Yeah.
that.
What else is needed?
You need resilience to bounce back from setbacks, adaptability to adjust to changing conditions, and courage to challenge the way things have always been done. It's about thinking differently, breaking the mold, and constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
I love that. And to our listeners, we hope you found these examples and strategies as inspiring as we did. It really shows that even in the most cutthroat markets with the right mindset and the right tools, you can break through those barriers and make your mark on the world.
And I think it's important to remember that the world is constantly changing, especially with the rapid pace of technological advancements. So it makes you wonder, how will the strategies of these past innovators need to evolve to meet the challenges and opportunities of the future? That's something worth thinking about.
Absolutely. It's a great question to leave our listeners with. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.